Hello, my friend. Sylvie Curry again, Lady of Q. And I'm out here with my best friend, Ziggy. As you all know, whenever I have things to talk about, I have something on my mind or something I want to share in conversation, I come out here with Ziggy and I tell him about it, and he listens. So I'm hoping you will too. What are we going to talk about today? Well, a few things. This past weekend, I competed in a contest in Petaluma, California. That's approximately 500 and something miles north of where I live. A 10-hour drive when you're pulling a trailer. And I went there, and my goal was to compete there because that competition offered a hot pass to a cowboy charcoal fire and ice competition competitor series where I would qualify. If I was the top female pitmaster, I would qualify to then go on to the WFC championship in November and compete under the Fire and Ice Championship. So what happened? We went, and yes, Lady of Q, that being me, I won the hot pass to go to the Cowboy Charcoal Fire and Ice Series in Orange Beach, Alabama in November. Let's talk about it. Okay, what is this series all about, and what is its importance to me? There are a lot of lady pitmasters all across the country who do backyard grilling, who are involved in a lot of cooking efforts regarding fire. In addition, a lot of lady pitmasters who compete in competition barbecue, or they may just own restaurants and be the primary cooks in those restaurants. So this competition to me represented an opportunity for lady pitmasters to be recognized and to be highlighted at some major barbecue event, being the World Food Championships. The first year, 2016, that it was offered, I did compete. And what was involved, I started off with a little bit of history. In 2016, the requirement was that you registered to be a competitor, a lady competitor. You must be registered as a KCBS member and have a team number. You also must be listed, the female has to be listed as the head cook of that barbecue competition team. So therefore, meeting all those requirements, I registered, and along with 20 plus other female teams, we competed over the course of 2016 in KCBS contests to get points based upon our performance. And that was based upon the KCBS guidelines for how many points you earned by your placement and the number of teams at that competition. The top 10 teams were identified by the end of October of 2016, and those top 10 teams were invited then to go to the World Food Championships. And we all went. The gist of the competition was that on Friday, we would compete in a grilling contest. And in that grilling contest, we could prepare anything we wanted to. And it was to be presented as the WFC guidelines dictated. We would have a platter for appearance. And then in the beginning, we would have, I think it was 10 samples. Then that went down to 6 samples. And those would be presented to a judge, and the judges base their judging on appearance, taste, and texture, or the each category, execution, appearance, and taste. And the second day of that WFC championship, we competed in a KCBS contest. And in that KCBS contest, it ran just like any KCBS contest nationally. And how you place, you got your certain numbers or points, and those would be added to the points that you received in the grilling contest. Let me state that in the KCBS contest, you use all your same equipment, supplies, etc., based upon what you would do in a normal KCBS contest. In the grilling contest, you were limited to what you prepared based upon it being packaged from a manufacturer, a butcher, or a grocery store, or whatever vendor it was, and unopened packages, blah, 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 but you can make anything you want. For example, in that contest, I did a grilled rack of lamb and presented it with grilled vegetables, and it actually did very well. Okay, moving on. Those scores were combined, and from those scores, we went on to awards, and the top teams in that, we would have a grand champion who would receive, I believe it was $5,000 in vouchers for jewelry. The second place winner, which was myself, I think I received $2,000 in vouchers for jewelry. And then the third through the 10th, each received, I believe it was $1,000 each. The second year, it was run basically the same way. The only difference was that in the fire and ice grilling competition, they went through a sort of a show and tell where you presented your platters and you had a one-on-one with the judges, and the judges had the opportunity to ask you questions about your presentation. I didn't go, and I regret that I didn't go, but circumstances regarding transportation made it where I was unable to. So that when 2018 came, I was raring and ready. I wanted to for sure get involved because this year I'm going. The guidelines and things were released not as early as in the previous years, but once they finally came out in early January, there were some changes, and some significant changes that made all of the prior competitors make considerations or how or why or if they would compete again. And I'll go over those considerations because I think it's very important. And even though, and I'm going to qualify this and say, even though I currently have a hot pass, I still have my opinions regarding how the system is running this year and the reasons for me going for the hot pass. Okay, first of all, what they did was they changed the qualification process. It now became where if you were going to or had considerations for being in the competition, you once again had to register. You once again had to have a KCBS number, which means that you had to be a KCBS member. And the registration ran until I think it was the end of May 31st, 2018. And I think there are currently 22 teams that are signed up under that process. However, only the top 5 of those 22 teams will qualify to go to the WFC Championship, which means then now the 6th through 10th competitors are out of luck. So where are they going to get the other 5 competitors? The other 5 competitors, our Lady Pitmasters, are to be selected, or were to be selected, are ongoing to be selected from a hot pass system. And what is this hot pass system? Well, it's similar to WFC's golden ticket process, I believe. But in the hot pass system, what happens is there were 5 identified contests all over the country where those teams competing, the top Lady Pitmaster of those teams competing at only those 5 contests would be invited to go to WFC. What does that mean? That means that you could be a Lady Pitmaster and you may or may not compete on any sanctioning body, KCBS, PNW, BA, FBA, MBN, any of them. You don't have to, but there were no stipulations. You did not have to register on the KCBS. You just had to show up and say, I'm a Lady Pitmaster and I'm competing. And the top person at those identified contests would then receive a hot pass to go on to the WFC Fire and Ice Cowboy Charcoal Women's Championship Series. Okay. The other difference was that under the old system, the top 10 teams that went on to WFC only received a $750 travel stipend. Under the new system, the top 5 under the KCBS system will also receive a $750 travel stipend. The 5 Pitmasters that qualify under Hot Pass will receive a $750 travel stipend. In addition, they win $1,000 just to compete at that one qualifying Hot Pass event. Speaking with other of the Pitmasters who cooked over the past 2 years, that was an area of concern for them because, and I'll go over what their issues were. Number one, in order to qualify under KCBS points for the top 5, you have to cook at least 10 or more contests to get enough points, because some of these ladies are hardcore competitors. They do very well against any competitor out there in barbecue, and they win. So therefore, in order to get enough points, you have to be on that caliber and win. However, if you do it by Hot Pass, you don't have to compete in anything except for that one qualifying contest and be the top lady pitmaster at that contest. In the beginning of the year, I knew that I was not going to hit 10 contests this year because for whatever reasons in Southern California where I live, the number of barbecue contests have declined. The number have backed off. In order for me to compete in more than what I've been doing, I'd have to go out of town. Significant travel. For example, for the Hot Pass competition that I won, it was over 500 miles away. Driving in a trailer, it was a 10-hour commute both ways. And so that's significant for me because I'm not a hardcore traveler like some of the top barbecue teams across the country. So I chose that if I were going to qualify, I'd have to get a Hot Pass because more than likely I could not hit the top 5 under the KCBS points. So I did choose to go to Petaluma, and fortunately I did win, and I got the Hot Pass. Okay. The other consideration that I had to make in determining if I were going to do the Hot Pass was in some of the changes that they made in the WFC competition. Okay, number one is that there's only going to be, for the barbecue section, there's only going to be an IBCA competition and a WFC EAT competition. No longer will it be KCBS. So what they'll do is they'll allow barbecue teams to come to the competition, and they can choose to either do IBCA or they can choose to do the EATS WFC competition. And that's up to the competitor themselves. I'm a hardcore KCBS competitor, and so I had to determine, okay, this is going to be something new for me, what I'm going to do. Long story short, I'm a lady pitmaster. Doesn't matter what competition it is, I just cook. And I cook my best, and I cook to win. The other consideration was that you could not do both unless you paid for the additional competition. So qualifying under the Cowboy Charcoal, Fire and Ice, only one of the competitions is covered outside of the Fire and Ice. Because both the Fire and Ice grill contests and the WFC barbecue competition are both under the EATS category, turn-in criteria a little different. Things regarding garnish and the things that KCBS requires don't apply. in the barbecue contest, the same meats are involved, so it's chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket. How they're presented is, as far as guidelines now and what people have been saying, are going to be up to the competitor. And so, once again, I had to look at that and say, okay, do I want to do this? Once again, I'm a lady pitmaster. I cook, and I cook my best. Doesn't matter what contest it is, what the criteria are, I just cook. Okay. Under the, one other consideration, I forgot, I want to bring this up. In the Fire and Ice grill competition, one of the requirements is going to be that we grill what we grill, we plate it the way that the guidelines says that we should plate it, we present it to the judges. However, we'll have a one-on-one with the judges, and they'll be able to ask us questions about what we presented, and we'll be able to respond with whatever we want to respond with based upon the questions they ask. That's okay. The only question regarding that is not blind, it's not anonymous. The judges are looking at me and say, she cooked that. The judges are looking at A, B, and C and say, she cooked that. And if there is any subjective bias there, whatsoever. However, we would understand that under each category, everything is objective, and there should not be any subjectivity in this judging process. Anyway. When you go to the World Food Championship, depending on where you're from, it is a significant time commitment. You're required to be on site, I believe, from Wednesday before the contest through the Saturday competition, or if you place in the top 10 in barbecue, then you're going to be there through Sunday. And so it's a lot of time commitment. If you're traveling from long distances, you have travel time before and travel time after. So you're looking at anywhere from a week, 2 weeks, you're looking at anywhere from a week to 2 weeks commitment off from whatever life things you do. So in order to go to this championship, you have to make that commitment. In the past, with the World Food Championships, barbecue competition was not one of their big groups. They've got a lot of groups. You've got, for example, bacon, chili, desserts, steak, recipes, sandwich, burgers. You got all these different categories, world food. And you have competitors in each of these different categories who have qualified for the category, and they go there and cook. And then you go through each competition in a series, you get down to one competitor in each category. For example, one from steak, one from burger, one from chili, one from recipe, one from barbecue, one from etc., 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 till you have 10 competitors. In the past, the WFC didn't really put a lot of efforts into the barbecue group. And there were a couple of years before I went, and this is hearsay from other people, that barbecue was in a totally different section from the other World Food Championships, so you felt excluded. And more things like that, for example. Over the next few years, it changed. By the time I went there, we were all in one area, and you had access to all the different competitions, so we were, I felt included. What are the things that I want to say about this? For the grill competition for barbecue, the Lady Pitmasters, on Friday, at whatever time they select, we as a group will go to the area they have selected for us to grill. In the grill portion of the Fire and Ice competition, the requirement the first year was that a Lady Pitmaster could have herself there and one of her other team members also in that area. And it could be your husband or whatever, another teammate, and it wasn't required that it be another female. There was a lot of conversation with some of the Lady Pitmasters that they felt it was unfair that the Lady Pitmasters had their husbands our other male teammates, they're doing more of the cooking than the Lady Pitmaster. So it was not, in their eyes, a true Lady Pitmaster challenge. So what they did last year, and I remember I didn't go last year, so I'm going by hearsay, is what they required then was that the qualifying Lady Pitmaster could have another female in the booth with her to help cook, but no males were allowed. And the strong concern here was that some of the barbecue teams which had registered to be Lady Pitmasters, the head cook was truly not the female component of the team. The head cook was actually the male, and to qualify for Cowboy Charcoal, Fire, and Ice, registration was changed to make the Lady Pitmaster, or the female on the team, the head cook. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever because, hey, there's a lady cooking. And as long as she's cooking, she's a Lady Pitmaster. If she's head cook or not, she's still cooking. Anyway, that was a concern. So, I think as I said before, the requirement then became that you could, on the grill part of it, the Lady Pitmaster could have another female assisting her as a sous chef. But the Lady Pitmaster must be the primary cook. And that's cool. With all these complications and all these considerations, and I'm going to say it again, my Ziggy's listening to me, even if you aren't. Anyway, with all these complications, why in the heck would I want to be in this series? Why in the heck would I want to compete? Someone asked me that question this past weekend at the Petaluma contest. And, you know, by the mere fact that they asked me the question meant that they themselves had some views that, you know, well, maybe this wasn't the place for us. Number one is that Cowboy Charcoal, Fire and Ice is putting a lot of attention into Lady Pitmasters. And I think that's fantastic. We are finally getting some recognition that we do compete. And that this whole barbecue competition thing is not just a guy thing. Let me regress a little bit. Let me give you an example. My competition trailer says Lady of Q, competition barbecue team. There's a pig on there with a pig ring, jewelry, bandana like I wear, that type of thing. People at contests will come up to my trailer, and my husband may be sitting outside or whatever, and I may be visible, whatever, and they'll start talking to him as if he were the pitmaster, asking him questions about what he does and what his team's about. And I could be standing there right next to him, but eyes are on him and conversation is towards him. Meaning that a lot of people have this idea internally that the male is the pitmaster. And I want to break that mold. I want people to be able to say that anybody can be a pitmaster. You just have to cook. Male, female, young, old, whatever. In addition, let me add one other criteria. Recognition. In this field of barbecue competition, there are a few females, number one. There are a few female solo cooks, meaning that I do all the cooking. I'm a solo cook. Meaning that my husband doesn't touch my pit, he doesn't touch my meat, he doesn't touch anything that goes on in the cooking process. The only time he handles the meat is when he's doing my taste testing, right before turn-ins, and when he walks my box to the judges. His primary role on the Lady of Q competition team is, and I'll be blunt with you because he doesn't mind this term, he uses it freely, he's my pit bitch. Okay? And being my pit bitch, he does all the other things that involve the lifting, unloading, loading of my trailer, stabilizing the trailer, all those type of things regarding just having the site set up. And where do I want to go from this? I regressed and changed the subject. And let me move on with what I was going to say. recognition. Why do I do this? I do this for the recognition as a female pitmaster, for the recognition of being a solo female pitmaster, solo cooking female pitmaster, and for the recognition that goes with being a senior citizen solo female pitmaster. And I'm going to add another thing to this, being a senior solo female black pitmaster. Not many of them around, okay? And some people will say, oh, there she goes, she said it. And I'm very happy to say it because I feel that my presence on the stage, at any competition, in Orange Beach, at WFC, makes a statement. And that statement is, hey, we're around. We compete, and we do very well in this thing. Anyway, that's one of the reasons. The other reason's bragging rights. Yeah, I want to say that I am a great lady pitmaster, and I do very well, and I want that recognition. I want my name out there, yes. I'm doing these YouTube videos. I'm going to take this opportunity then to say, hey, I do want you to subscribe. Click that little button down there. It's real little, but you can still click it and subscribe to my channel. Make a comment. Let me know what you think about my conversations, what I cook, barbecue competitions, etc. Tell me you like. If there's something you don't like, tell me you dislike it, but please give me a comment and tell me what you don't like. Anyway, recognition so that you'll view my YouTube videos and learn something and see what the voyage is of Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q competition barbecue pitmaster. What other reason am I doing this? It's not for the diamonds. I'd rather have cash, to say it truthfully. And a number of the ladies have also voiced that, diamonds are nice. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. And I've heard other women say, how dare Cowboy Charcoal think that diamonds are going to make a lady happy? Well, well, they do. When they come from your husband, your boyfriend, friends, and stuff like that, or you buy them yourself. And it's nice to get them in a barbecue competition. They're trophies, and they're pretty good trophies. So, anyway, I don't mind. One of the things that the Cowboy Charcoal Fire and Ice series is doing this year that I think is significant and very important is that they are allowing, I believe, for the pitmasters to have the ability to recognize a charity, a 501(c) charity, and do little promos leading up to WSC for the charities and things like that, in which $15,000 may be donated. That's huge. The Lady Pitmaster gets to pick her charity, and the funds will be distributed based upon who she picks and how she performs in the guidelines for enrolling in that part of the competition. Anyway, that's very good. Okay, I've talked enough. It's a hot day out here. It's probably like 90-something. It's not humid here in Southern California, or today it's not humid here in Southern California. I'm out here with my Ziggy. I come out here and I talk, he listens. Hopefully you guys listen, and you'll continue on with me on my journey in barbecue. Once again, Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q, and I'm out here enjoying nature. Take care, bye-bye. Blessed day to y'all.